Welcome to another episode. And it turns out that Naughty Dog was so upset they had to call the manager. Whose manager did they call? They called Vice's manager because had the nerve not to like The Last of Us Part 2 and give it a critical score. Not even critical, but it just wasn't in line with the rest of the scores that the mainstream media just gave The Last of Us 2 because The Last of Us 2 was The Last of Us 2. And a recent article at Polygon.com titled The Last of Us Part 2 has become a minefield. Whoa, you almost fell there, didn't you? She almost fell. They state that they were contacted by Sony in part for Naughty Dog. And I quote, "While the vast majority of reviews have lavished The Last of Us Part 2 with all sorts of praise, a handful of outlets, Polygon included, have been slightly more critical of the blockbuster game. According to Zachney, Vice Review prompted a Sony representative to reach out on behalf of Naughty Dog. They felt some of the conclusions I had reached in my review were unfair and dismissed some meaningful changes or improvements," Zachney told Polygon over Twitter messages. Zachney clarified that the exchange wasn't confrontational, but it was nonetheless unusual. As the site doesn't typically have big publishers asking in official capacity why a review trends the way it does, such can happen, of course, through often with smaller developers or publishers who have spotted factual error in a piece they want corrected. "I was happy to unpack a bit of my reasoning. However, I received a perfectly cordial message in response," Zachney said. Naughty Dog's PR team declined to comment on Polygon's inquiry about its exchange with Vice. And there you have it. Naughty Dog PR team calling the manager, calling Vice's manager, asking why they rated the game the way they did. Now, some of you might like Naughty Dog and The Last of Us 2, but it's clear to say that there's definitely a divide between gamers who have played the game, fans of the original. And for many reasons too. The gameplay, the stories. But it goes beyond the game. And people are now starting to hate the company for the way they reacted to fan backlash this whole time. And they don't help themselves when they go full Karen and start calling the manager to ask why a certain reviewer didn't like their game. Just let it go. And let those who bought the game, the 4 million people who bought it the first week, let them enjoy it. Let them enjoy it without further controversies. Because initial hype for a game will sell copies. But what keeps it going in the long run, longevity, is word of mouth. And the way that fans and the community embrace the game and recommend it to others. By the looks of it so far, it looks like everybody's trying to get rid of their copy now. Maybe because they passed it, or maybe because they know it's not a game worth holding on to, at least for them. So just be happy with those perfect scores that you got. And the ones that don't coincide with the rest of them, either take them with a grain of salt or actually take their advice and use it as a tool to grow. I don't know, but one thing I do know is you don't call the damn manager to complain. That's gonna do it for this episode. Remember, when you get those Karens complaining to the managers and shit hits the fan, run. Welcome to You're knocking everything down, girl. Knocking everything down.